Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Insights from a Headhunter. Today, we have a wonderful guest with us. She is a professional speaker on change, LinkedIn top voice, 2 times TEDx speaker, and a best-selling author. Our guest is Lavinia Thanapathy. Welcome.
Thank you, Tina. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm so happy that you said yes to come to talk to us about how to navigate change in career. And I was so happy when I met you for the first time. It was through a post that was about this little girl is me, and how you empower women, and how you help people to feel more comfortable and confident in their careers.
Yeah,
So
that was such a great post, though. I remember you shared your story too, with that this little girl is me. This is last October. It was almost a year ago. Can you imagine? It was last October because October 11th is the International Day of the Girl. So yeah, that was when it was.
it's a wonderful way how we meet on LinkedIn in the most amazing ways. Um, so really the way you can bring people together in working towards one goal and connecting, and how we all could relate and remember how we were as children and what we liked and how we still do the same thing even now in our careers. So thank you
Absolutely. It was
for organizing it. So let's start with the conversation about change, specifically in our careers. And that's something that you also have experienced in your own career. Tell me a little bit about your own journey.
Oh, that's thank you, Tina, for inviting me. And I've always wanted to be in your pink seat. I love this studio. I love your pink studio. This is so fantastic. So yeah, I have had a very changing career. And I always thought I was the weird one. And about, I don't know, let me see, 3, 4 years ago, I did a women in leadership program at Oxford University. And one of the exercises we were given to do was actually to plan a map. We had to draw out like a journey, our career journey. And it was so interesting. I assumed I was the only one with this weird, circuitous career route. But honestly, I thought other people's looked like this. You start from here and you keep growing until you hit the top, right? This is what I thought other people's looked like. But in this program, which was a lot of women who were really at the peak of their career, everyone, like to a woman, there wasn't a single person there who had this linear route to success. Everyone took a kind of a roundabout route to find themselves where they were. And I certainly did as well. So I started off my career with an education in the law. So I started off as a lawyer. And, after I'm extremely qualified as a lawyer, and I have never practiced as a lawyer. It is, um, it is something I'm sure my parents wish I had at least done for a little while. But I accidentally fell into my jobs in communication and PR and in branding, and that's where I found my success and where I found my home, my intellectual home, um, my work home, my career home. And I did many different types of work around that. I am married to a career diplomat. So that means we move around the world a lot. It means my career has to, every 4 years, we change country, we change cities. And so my career always had to kind of fit in, you know. And I will say that this last move, so the move we just made, so I live in Berlin in Germany, and we moved from Singapore. This final move was my most successful for my career. And it was the most successful for my career thanks to COVID, because as a professional speaker and as someone who delivers training, I can do everything from this exact spot here. This spot with this camera, with this mic, with my laptop, I can work around the world here. And this is the first time that my business actually grew during a move, rather than always it took a contraction until I find my feet in the new place. And then either I go and I get myself a job or I start a business, whatever it is I'm doing, it always contracts. And then once I establish myself, I can grow. This time, so you see, change, as awful as it can be sometimes, and moving during a pandemic is not something I encourage anyone to try if they don't have to. It is not a bucket list kind of item. It's not like going to Mykonos or something. I don't know. It is not something I recommend. But it turned out to be a really good thing for me. So one and in the way I look back at it, what I'm practicing is something that I really encourage people who are going through change or anticipating having change. This is a very powerful tool. What I'm using in my mind is what I'm doing is bright spot thinking. And I am looking at a
Mhm.
situation that can be very complex, that can have many different sides. But what I'm looking for is the bright spot, the thing that worked so damn well that it resulted in something really good and long term. And it's always looking for the bright spot in every situation there is. And the good thing about finding the bright spot, when people do it, whether companies do it or teams do it or an individual does it, the good thing is it's not coming from the outside. The bright spot that you're looking for, it's coming from within you. It's your life, your experience. It's not something like that you've never seen before, that you have to get training for. Bright spot thinking allows you to do something that really that you already know how to do.
It sounds like almost like the gratitude mentality, that you think about the things that are positive, or you focus on that, and that will bring more bright experiences as well.
A bit like the sunshine that's suddenly decided to flood my space right now. So I'm just going to adjust a little bit for a bit more, for a bit less light and a little less blinding for everybody.
So this is live. So those things happen.
Absolutely. Here we go. Adjusted.
So tell me about the bright spot technique.
Sure. So I think when you're faced with a complex problem, one of the things we often do is we wallow in the problem, right? We think
Mm.
what is going. We're always like, oh my God, this is going wrong. That is going wrong. The other thing is going wrong. And as humans, we are geared towards looking at the negative.
Yes.
You know, the English language has like 560 words for emotions, and 2/3 of those words for emotions are negative, like they're negative emotions, negative feelings. So we are made for it. It's why bad news sells. It's why, newspapers and online, they always give you the bad news, right? Because there's something in our psyche that says we are drawn to it like a magnet. So bright spot thinking requires you to break a bit of that automatic looking for the problem. It asks you to look for what is actually working, the bright spot. Where is the bright spot? And every situation has a bright spot. It doesn't feel like it in that very first moment, but there is a bright spot. And when you look at the bright spot and you break it down, you can really use it. So if we don't have a question from the audience, then I will tell a little story at this point. So one great
Go
example
ahead.
of this is from the 1990s. Jerry Sternin was someone from Save the Children, and he was sent to Vietnam, which in 1990 was suffering a huge problem of malnourishment amongst children, particularly children under 5. And he was sent by Save the Children to Vietnam to solve this problem with no resources. So they sent him and his family to go live in Vietnam. Please go and solve this problem of malnutrition. But we have no money to give you. We have no people to give you. We have nothing. We have no deal with the government that they will help you out with infrastructure. Nothing. No, nothing. So he gets to Vietnam, and what he does is he decides to ask this very important question. In amongst all of these malnourished children, are there any children who are not in this situation? Are there any children in this age group that are still thriving in spite of the situation? And he says, okay, let's exclude anyone who has government contacts or anyone with another way to get food. So they exclude all of these, and they look around and they say, where is there someone here? And they find children who are thriving in spite of everyone else not thriving. So they go to these mothers and they say, what are you doing differently? How are you feeding your child? And they watch them. They watch them and they discuss with them what they're doing differently. And they discover they're doing 3 things differently. These mothers are feeding their children more regularly. So in Vietnam, normally in the villages, at least in this part, they feed their families twice a day. These mothers were feeding their children 4 times a day. It turns out when you have so little nutrition, so little calories, you need to spread them out for children a little bit. And so spreading them out over 4 times. And then these mothers were also adding in sweet potato greens and shrimp and crab that they were collecting from the bottom of the paddy fields. These were like things that they would normally throw away. And so they were adding these shrimp and prawns into the food, which was not considered. Most parents did not do that. They did not think this was suitable food for children. And the final thing these mothers were doing, they were actively feeding their children. So they have a communal bowl. So in Vietnam, in the villages, they feed from a communal bowl. Everyone takes what they want from the communal bowl. Children don't know how to do that. So these mothers who are doing things differently were actively feeding their children from the communal. So these are 3 simple things that did not require any new money. You don't need new money to do any of this. You don't need new resources. So Jerry Stannon starts these, instead of having this big press conference, let me tell you how to solve your problem, what he does is he showcases it as a bright spot. What he does is he organizes communal kitchens by mothers for mothers, so that the mothers who are getting it right are showing the other mothers how easy it is to help your children thrive. So it really changed the whole scheme of nutrition in this part of Vietnam. Jerry then founded an organization called the positivedeviance.org. You can check them out online. He has died in the meantime, but his organization is still around, and he made a huge difference. And it went from village to village, and it really did solve the problem of malnutrition. Imagine if you can solve malnutrition with no new resources. What can you do with your career?
Exactly. That's a fantastic story. Like we don't have to invent the wheel. And I know both of us have had our fair share of change in our careers and in our lives, because we have lived abroad and in different countries, and that adds another level of uncertainty and of change, because it's even more difficult to predict in a new culture, in a new climate, what will happen. So what would be your tips to be proactive?
Well, I have for now, what is it, 15 years, I think, used LinkedIn as my constant. So since we're here on LinkedIn, I will use this as one of the things that I have been doing very consistently for a very long time. And I, like so many, pretty much everyone who started on LinkedIn, did it as a place where you could store your CV, right? Something online. Everyone was doing it. So, join the crowd, just open a LinkedIn account, put your CV on, and then hope that you find a job this way. And LinkedIn worked extraordinarily well for my career at that point. I realized after my first move that, oh, you know what this thing does? It lets me take my network with me. So, one of the challenges of moving around the world is that you have to constantly rebuild your network. And what LinkedIn allowed me to do was it allowed me to take my network with me. I could continue to engage with people. People could continue to be aware of what I was doing without me doing any extra efforts. It was a really good way to network. And that was my first aha. Oh, this thing works quite well for this. So that's when I started. Oh, okay. I actively started adding people to my LinkedIn network. The second thing I realized about it is it's an excellent database. So if I needed to find someone, um, you can find them based on what they're doing, what company they're with, for specific job titles. Most people are still Googling this information where there are so many walls when if they looked on LinkedIn, people are freely sharing this information. So, the second thing I realized that was really valuable was how powerful the database was. The search on LinkedIn is something most people don't use enough. You can use the normal Boolean search functions like and, or, all those normal functions. You can use them within LinkedIn and you can give parameters. You can look for people in a country by function. Even on the free version of LinkedIn, you can do a lot of searches on LinkedIn. So people should definitely do that. And I certainly did that a lot and helped my career along the way. And the final thing I realized when I started my own business was that LinkedIn has excellent search engine optimization. Its SEO is fabulous. If you want to be found, and I'm a professional speaker, I rely on new clients all the time, big companies who come to me and hire me to speak for their conferences, for their leadership meetings, all of these things. I'll tell you, every single client found me on LinkedIn. Either they met me in person when I was delivering a talk, or they found me on LinkedIn. And they find me on LinkedIn for my articles, so they have an idea of how I think. So they hire me for change. Nobody hires me for change to teach people how to draw graphs or make process uh, diagrams or anything like that. They know that's not what I do. What I do is I help people think differently about change, and they get that from the articles that I write, from the posts that I write. All of these things help people decide, oh, this is someone we would like to come talk to our people. She's someone that can help our people think differently about change so that when change and all its uncertainty arrives, they have some change muscles that they can exercise and that they are better equipped for. So that's what people hire me for. And all of that comes because I realized LinkedIn has fantastic SEO. If you want to be found, you want to make sure you're putting the things that you want to be found for, the words, the ideas that you want to be found for. You make sure you're putting it on LinkedIn. Put it in there, put it in your profile. Make sure you've added new skills. Make sure you've got your, in your about section, you tell people who you are today, looking forward. Most people's about section, all about their past. It's not an autobiography. It is. And I don't know why people do it that way. You want to tell people who you are today, looking forward, and where you want to be, so that people who find you when they're looking for these words that they're going to search, that they will find you. So those are my three top tips to how, as someone who has moved around the world, someone who's had to change careers and went from a career in big companies to now having my own business, with children, with family, with moving around the world, all of these things. LinkedIn has been a constant for at least for the last 15 years.
That's so true, and LinkedIn has changed so much. So it's really important to keep it up to date. And like you said, the about section, most about sections are really about the past, and the rest we have to do mind reading. So if you would just put where you want to go, it would make recruiters' life so much easier. So we could reach out with the right type of of opportunities to make it a win-win situation for everyone.
Right. And many people are afraid to do that because they think they might compromise their current position. And the secret to that is to actually see where you could be in your own organization. So no one would take offense, right? So what you want to do is look in your own organization at a position that's a little bit ahead of you. Look at the job description for that and start including some of those words in your
Mm.
about section. Start including some of those skills in yours. No one will take offense at that. No one in your company can say, oh, look, she's looking for a new job. When what you're doing is just being aspirational at that moment, right? You're within your company. And if you are consistent on LinkedIn, instead of just doing LinkedIn when you are looking for a job. So when you've decided, okay, this is going, I am leaving now. So now I'm going to go onto LinkedIn. If you are doing it regularly, you will not alert anyone. You can leave smoothly, and all of it can go smoothly if you're doing it consistently. Don't do a sudden sprint as soon as you decide you want to leave. And when you leave, make sure the way you do it on LinkedIn and the way it appears to future employers, the way it appears to future clients is smooth. That you don't, this is not an opportunity to burn any bridges. So use it as a smooth way to transition and how people will look back on it. Make sure you're thinking about that.
Yeah, it's so important because I've seen during the past years there has been so much change, so many reorganizations where the whole division was made redundant overnight almost. Like the marketing department in Europe was eliminated, and even if you had the best individual reviews and you met all your KPIs, you're suddenly there without a job. So there is never a 100% guarantee, because even if you do well and everything is going well, you always have to think about how to prepare for a new position or for a new organization, because those things happen more often than we think.
Yeah. So definitely keep an alert. So I would, so several things that I do is keep an alert out for the job that you want, your aspirational job, right? Make sure those alerts are still coming in so that you see them from time to time. You know what's out in the market. Just be aware of what's in the market and then see if there's been change in terminology. Sometimes it's just a slight change. Someone who is just the exact words may have just slightly shifted, and make sure you then, when you see that, you incorporate that into your own profile, this slight shift. For a long time, people like me will call communications professionals or directors or whatever. And then later on, it moved to very much being a branding and communication. So if I hadn't added, it was just not in the normal in the titles at the time. Then it became about brand. So I made sure that branding was now, although it was always part of what I did, I started to add that into my profile so that those words start to be in. Remember, LinkedIn is a fantastic database. Databases rely on words, on exact
Keywords.
words. Right,
Yes.
keywords. So go ahead and look for those keywords. So keep the alerts up, have a look through, look out for the words, the skills, and just have a look back at your own skills. Can you, and have someone else look as well? Do you know I'm a speaker on change? This is my expertise. Do you know, until about, I don't know, 18 months ago, change was not one of my skills. I did not notice that. I had it in other parts of my profile. It's not as I did not have it as a skill. So even if you go back and have a look at my LinkedIn now, it's only got a number of endorsements. It doesn't have as many as some of the other things because I had not seen it. I know what I do.
It's
So, of course,
obvious.
everyone else knows what obvious, but it is not. So, you need other people to help you from time to time who are looking at your profile and ask you some questions. So, if you're dealing with, for instance, someone like Tiina, who's a headhunter, then headhunters are fantastic because they're looking from the outside. The few times that headhunters have come to me for a role or something, they've been very helpful in terms of seeing what's in my profile and what I hadn't seen.
Yeah, it's about the keywords and scanning the profile and the job description. So you match it with the keywords, and really, like you said, the words are changing. If like what we used 10 years ago, it's not the same word, and some people have just followed internal career paths without ever reflecting on their LinkedIn profile and updating it. So it's good to do that from time to time. Otherwise it might be too late if you find yourself in a position where you don't have employment at the moment. So
Exactly. So do it constantly. Just set an alarm. You know what I recommend people do is to just put in your diary like every 3 months or so. If you're not using LinkedIn regularly, that's okay. Look, Tiina and I were heavy users of LinkedIn. We're on every single day. There's no day that, unless we're on holiday, there's no day that we're not on LinkedIn. Whether we're posting or not, we're engaging, we're doing other things. And I understand about 80-90% of people who are on LinkedIn are not doing that. You're going on just for the specific purpose of looking for a job from time to time. But don't let it go stale. Your profile is extraordinarily important. Most people who Google you will see your LinkedIn profile. So
yeah.
don't let it go stale. Just set it in your diary on the 15th of whatever, every 3 months, on the 15th or whatever, every Wednesday or the first Wednesday, every 3 months. At a minimum, every 3 months, you must go in and refresh your profile. Go in and check things out. Go and comment on some people, add some people to your network. The minimum, the very minimum you must do this is once every 3 months. Ideally, you're doing this at least once a week. That's a uh, good frequency for most career professionals who are not using LinkedIn to generate business, or you're not in business development, you're not in sales. Once a week is ideal. But if you don't want to do that, okay, you don't have time, whatever, put in your diary once every 3 months because you don't want to look like yesterday's news. And if you leave it for too long, that's what you'll look like.
Exactly. that's that's a very good tip, to put a reminder, because we put reminders for so many things, and I think LinkedIn is your best career insurance. So don't forget about that. Let me just jump over to the comments. Oh, we have Erica here from the US. Tiina and Lavinia sharing the latest insights on navigating change. Hi, Erica. And we have Annette Richmond from the US. Yes, you taught me the value of articles, Lavinia. Yes, you
Oh,
really made me think about articles and how important it is to produce them, and because they are Google indexed, and that's how you can be found and your thoughts.
and they have a very long shelf life. So you could be found for a very, very long time with your articles. I always tell people don't look at the numbers with articles. It doesn't matter how many people liked or shared, what the engagement, it's okay. Just what you want to make sure is it includes the keywords you want to be found by. And like I said, for years, I get hired for articles that I have written years and years ago. So absolutely. I'm so glad that it was helpful for you, Annette.
So we have Jessica here, struggling with bad connection. So much needed to hear this. Okay. You can also go back and watch the replay uh, that's available on LinkedIn. And And it says some people won't contact you if they see no activity on your profile. Yes, that's a giveaway. If there is no activity, people don't know how often you go there if you're active.
So you need to pay your dues. The minimum is once every 3 months. The very, very minimum, like the very, very minimum.
And Ralitza, also from Belgium here, says thank you for the tips. She is one of the nicest photographers I have met. She took so much nice pictures of me and my children that I just remembered 10 years ago. And gosh, that memory is just incredible.
Oh, that's fantastic. Ralitza, we chatted earlier today on LinkedIn. That's where we first met. And here we are again this afternoon. Such a pleasure. I'm so glad you could join us.
So, where could people find you? Of course, on LinkedIn, but I know that you have this amazing, as a LinkedIn trainer, you have this amazing free checklist. Where could people
I
find it?
do. I do. So I realized that a lot of people need just to go through their profile one time to clean it up. So I created a profile checklist. You can get it at www.lavinia.club. So it's just my name, Lavinia, my first name, dot club. And there you can just go to the free profile checklist. You can download it and then you can just go through it. It's like 4 pages, but it's all just little things. Some of it you have already, no problem. Just go through and just check everything that you've already got and think about the things that are still missing and how you can work that into your schedule to at least make sure you get those things. This is the minimum you need to ensure that your profile is at least up to scratch. It gets it noticed by it's really the just get these things done and you'll start to see people start to reach out to you because all the sections, so people like Tiina, they won't see the empty profiles because they have so many profiles to look at. They're not going to look at the unfilled in profiles. You want headhunters like Tiina or any kind of employer or potential client to find you. You need to put a little bit of work into showcasing yourself. Put it into LinkedIn. The time you put into LinkedIn is invested. The time you spend on TikTok is spent. The money it's like money in the bank. It's like when you buy a house, it is an investment. When you buy Jimmy Choo shoes, that is a spending. So, it's the same thing. So you want to make sure that you're putting a little bit of effort and investment into LinkedIn. It will pay off time and time again. I haven't posted, I'll tell you perfectly honestly, someone like me, I have a relative, I'm in a holding place on LinkedIn. I'm not looking to grow at the moment on LinkedIn. I haven't posted on LinkedIn, I think for 5 months. At least not regularly. I think I might have had 1 or 2 posts in the last few months, but really not even once a month. But I don't recommend that for everyone. I'm in a different place. I already have a following, I already have a network, and I have a presence already. So I'm in a different place. So you can be, after you've done the work, you can sit back a little bit. And I've still had work coming to me. Work has been coming to me in spite of me not doing as much on LinkedIn. And I still get invited to do fantastic shows like this with Tiina. And it's comes because of the work. You get a momentum. And if you haven't done anything, you need to work a little bit harder. So you need to do a little bit more work. And then once you get a momentum on LinkedIn, you'll also be in a position where you can do a bit less and still have the results.
It's so good to have this checklist to check it off, and because it's so important to get the basics right so that you will be found as well. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Lavinia. It was so lovely to talk to you.
It was a
And
pleasure to be here, Tiina. I'm so happy to be in your pink room. This was such a pleasure.
thank you so much. Bye bye.